economist Larry Summers, supposedly a progressive economist, actually he told the truth, right? He shows, however, why this economic system can only be considered defective, unsustainable, and evil. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. But please listen keenly. It is very important. Very important.
Let's talk about the economy, the basic economy. You said it's complicated. Complicated could be a euphemism for it's not going to turn around anytime soon.
Look, Andrea, I think we're getting bad news on inflation, and we're getting bad news on economic strength. The bad news on inflation is coming in the form of the wage and price increase data. The bad news on economic strength is coming on terms of the spending data. And so what that's telling us is, frankly, what I and many others have been saying for a long time, that the Fed and to some extent the administration, but much more the Fed's confidence in a soft landing is tooth fairy kind of stuff. And we need, in my view, to prioritize inflation, because if we don't prioritize inflation, we're going to have higher and higher inflation and a more and more stagflationary situation. And we need to prioritize inflation. But if we do, we're going to very likely have a meaningful economic downturn. I was very surprised by Secretary Yellen's expression of optimism that we could somehow get through this without the unemployment rate rising above 5%. She's a great economist, and that's certainly a possibility. But my best guess would be that 5% unemployment sort of corresponds to neutral in the current post-COVID environment. And so to have inflation come way down, we're going to have to see unemployment get above that. So I think we just have to accept what's necessary as part of the investment process for building the very, very strong economy that we can have in the United States.
And so you would assume it's more likely than not we're going to have a recession if we're not already there.
I think the odds are very high, perhaps over 3/4, that in the next year or two we will have a recession. And I think that's just what happens when you have an economy that is as overheated as our economy was allowed to become.
First of all, before I tackle the meat of what he had to say, I want to say this. Notice what he said. In an economy as overheated as it was allowed to occur. In other words, the economy got overheated because we had a pandemic, and we gave people money to stay home. And the money that we gave them to stay home were living wages as opposed to just starvation type incomes many people were getting on their own jobs. And that is a bad thing, because that causes the economy to overheat under Larry Summers' parlance. And, based on the way this economic system works, that's true. But then earlier on, he says, Yellen is really talking gibberish, because there are bad things that are happening now. And what are the bad things that are happening? Inflation is going up and wages are going up. He didn't say the bad thing is that inflation is going up. He's saying the bad thing that is occurring is inflation is going up and wages are going up. So that's a bad thing. He doesn't look at it and say, oh, that's what we need. We need wages to go up. And he says to solve that problem, the first thing that we have to tackle is inflation. That's the most important thing. Inflation, based on our economic system. We need to control inflation. And how do we control inflation? We control inflation by saying we can't be talking about having a 3.5% unemployment rate, or we can't be talking about having a 5% unemployment rate. The people must feel pain. We need to give all those people who are working, we need to throw them out of a job. That is the way we regulate our economic system. Throw them out of a job so that all the rich cats out there, all the rich corporations that are the ones responsible for inflation, can't do it anymore. You see, inflation says those guys who have pricing power, the corporations, they charge whatever they like. And we can't tell them as a society, stop it. Stop ripping us off and stop keeping all of our money in your pockets. Stop being parasites. We can't force them to do that. The only way we can get them to do that is for the feds to come in, the Federal Reserve, to come and coax them that way. And how do you coax them that way? You coax them that way by increasing the interest rates, the Fed rate, increasing the rate so that it costs them more to develop the things to you. And then when you cannot afford all these things, they have to keep their profits going, to keep maximizing their profits. They have to say, okay, what can we cut here? Employment. We cut employment. And when we cut employment, what do we cut? Demand. Because those unemployed people have to be poor now. They can't spend as much anymore. And that's how we stop those plutocrats, the ones with price and power, the ones who increase prices, even though there isn't a supply glut, even though there's not a supply shortage. This guy acts like an overheated economy, meaning an economy where people have money to spend and has to be stopped, even though there isn't shortage of product. The one thing we know, they have money. The people have money now, right? So instead of keeping the products at a reasonable price and making your reasonable profit, and these people can buy more choices, more things, it is no. For the basic things that you need, we're going to increase the prices because we know that if you have the money in your pocket to buy the things of basic needs, you're going to do it, right? And remember, the ones that always get hurt are the ones in the bottom of the scale, because those are the ones that have to buy whatever the market will bear. In other words, I got to go to work, I got to buy gasoline, and it doesn't matter how much of my pocket is taken. The only way those plutocrats stop taking money, the only way the oligarchy, the corporations stop taking money is when stop raising prices, is when they themselves start to feel the pain and starting to lay people off, and then the demand is gone. It's a failed economic system. The lies that you hear about, it's taking people out of poverty and all that kind of crap, it doesn't have to be this system to take people out of poverty. One that says we got to force a certain percentage of our population into poverty so that the plutocrats, so that the rich cats, so that the oligarchy, so that the plutocracy don't keep raising your prices to such an extent that it just gets out of control. Because these guys they don't have a lot of stairs. They just want money. They are parasites. A parasite doesn't understand that after it kills its body, after it kills the body it is parasitic against, it also dies because there is no more body left. But you see, the plutocrats, like I said, they're not very smart upstairs, so they don't mind killing because they know that the system, the self-fixing system of this form of our economic system, of this form of capitalism, going to rein them in before they get themselves killed. Because like any parasite, you kill your victim and then you eventually die. And to prevent the plutocrats from themselves dying, the self-sustaining, just take them to the edge, is the feds, who can then regulate to force them to do the right thing without telling them you can't overcharge the prices. But who always pays, people? You do. Who always? They never pay. You know, they complain about giving us a few $1 billion to get us out of a pandemic, but when they need help, they get trillions in economic easing. They get trillions in quantitative easing. They get trillions in saying we got to make them whole. When the chip manufacturers took their manufacturing overseas, and now there is a supply problem because China can't get the stuff over here quick enough because now it's all the way over there. We're not building these things over here anymore. So we depend on China. We depend on Vietnam. We depend on them sending things here. Our plutocrats, our oligarchy did that to make more money. And then when there's a supply chain problem, which means they can't get the chip to America, they raise the prices on the car. They continue to make a lot of money. And we have to pay the higher prices if we want the stuff, right? And then when they, now the government wants to protect us, right? So because we are the government, we the people. So the government tells Intel and all these other chip manufacturers that send all their chips overseas, all right, we're going to pass the CHIPS Act. We're going to help you build your factories here so that you can employ Americans here and not leave overseas. So they make a big profit to leave, and then we give them our money to beg them to come back to the States. We subsidize the rich guys who made record profits last year. We subsidize them to come. But in order to get this economy working right, we have to go above 5% unemployment. We have to make the average middle class pay. They have got to pay for the mistakes that we make. Oh, it's not a mistake. It's our economic system. Larry Summers' statement on inflation and employment proves we have a defective and unsustainable and an evil economic system. Is he truthful in the way it works? He is truthful in the way it works because it is the system as is. Is there a solution? You bet there is. But you start talking about that solution and you know what people want to call you. So instead, we just continue to pilfer the poor, pilfer the middle class. It is something we can never get above, folks, unless you take command of your economy. We don't need corporations. We need collectives where the owners of that corporations are the people, the means of production, the people who produce. You work for company A, you are part owner of company A because all that profit should go to you and all of you who do it. And for things that are essential to our system, energy, certain types of food, and other areas, healthcare, we the people should be in control of a well-managed system where these guys who work and profit off of our demise can profit no more. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.